This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast, where we share excellent ideas that will elevate the construction experience for workers, customers, companies, and the industry as a whole. We do this by providing insights, solutions, and training. My name is Jason Schroeder, and today's podcast is about recovering a project. So before we begin, I do want to ask you to share this podcast for anybody who might need it, and also please leave a comment and rate the podcast when you're done. So today's podcast will be a little bit different. Usually I follow a structure where I open with a quote and a story, the situation, the solution, some tips and tricks, and then I close it out. But today is a little bit different. I have been in situations on projects where I've been asked to come help to recover a project or to land a project at the end to make sure that we're going to be okay and hit the end date. So what I want to do today is go through a number of topics that apply to how to finish a project. And as things develop and I'm able to include more, then I'll just add that into this podcast and republish it at a future date. So these are the things that you would need to do if you are trying to land a project or recover a project so that you do not crash land it, so it doesn't become an absolute disaster. So I'm going to go through them one by one. And first, I will list them in my list in order and then explain them one by one. So first, identify roles, stabilize everything, clean everything and reduce inventory, switch to zero tolerance safety systems, create one plan, a schedule that is your path to finish, identify geographical control amongst your entire team. Make sure that you have clearly defined ownership of areas without duplicate assignments. Enforce daily huddles amongst the team and host them daily, effectively, with high energy. Fanatically track roadblocks. Map out commissioning in detail with your path to finish for life safety, for commissioning, for any final inspections with your authorities having jurisdiction. Target your hot zones and your high-risk areas and your high-risk procurement. Identify winning daily and track that daily. Maintain conquered territory throughout the project so you do not have to return. Set scopes that have to have a flow. Set them in a successful path and start them on time so that they are set up to finish on time, like final cleaning and touch up and drywall patching or anything else like that. Punch list, anything that has to have a flow, set that up in a flow to start on time. Designate your DAH, and I'll explain what that is later. Everything has to be identified with a responsible person and a known end date. Put troublesome trades and procurement into task force. Widen your circle for help when needed for every critical situation in that duration. Use notices. And then I'll talk about some concepts like the stop and call, making them come to you, working in small, packed crews, not pushing crews on top of each other, and not doing out of sequence work. These are really key concepts. There's a lot of them, so I'm going to hit them one at a time. Quick explanation, hopefully inspire you, and then we're going to act and close this podcast out. So let me just tell you my feeling about recovering projects or landing them. I really feel like I love the analogy of a crash landing or a controlled landing or a recovery. You're going through turbulence in the air, so I love these airplane analogies when it comes to recovering a project, when it comes to landing a project. And I think it's appropriate with the visual that we associate with that, because at the end of a project, what we don't want to do is nose that plane down so fast that we actually crash it. We want to control that landing. We want a controlled dive. We want to have a steady incline, and we need to hold on to those controls super tight and have a controlled landing, even if it's an emergency landing. But we do not want to have a crash landing. I want to make that clear. The other thing that comes to my mind when I think of recovering or crash landing a project is General Patton. Somebody has to become General Patton in this scenario. Somebody has to arrive on the battlefield and say, all right, everybody, all of these soldiers are in order. We will have perfect everything. I want discipline. I want regimen. I want training. I want everything held stable. We are going to win. We are going to conquer the enemy, and we are going to drive through these Germans, and I'm going to drive all the way to Berlin and kill Hitler myself. We need somebody with that tenacity that's going to outrun the fuel supply, that's going to outrun the supply lines with such speed that the enemy doesn't even have time to regroup. The enemy doesn't have any time to think about what they're going to do because you're attacking so fast over and over and over and over. Attack, attack, and attack some more. That's one of the visuals that comes to my mind. The other part of it is it needs to go from uncontrolled to controlled. And we know how to do it. There is no guessing on how to recover a project. There is no guessing on how to do a controlled landing for a project if you're in trouble. We know those techniques. Somebody has to be firm. You need a general Patton. Sometimes I call it the DAH, and I don't like that because some people don't like cussing, and I totally appreciate that. But I need to get it into people's head that this milk toast, I'm going to ask people and be nice situation is gone when we're in a recovered project situation or when we're landing, or especially if we're on our way to a crash landing. All of that, let's be meek stuff is gone. We need a designated a-hole right away. So I say, who is the DAH? Somebody's got to be there. And I only use that analogy, I only use that acronym, I only use that language to get up across the point that no, I'm not playing around. Somebody has to stand on this battlefield and tell everybody, this is where we're going. I don't care. We're heading forward. Win, win, win over and over. So that's the first thing. Imagine that that's what's got to take place. We are at war and we have to take that seriously. We have to have people that will drive just like Patton did through the Nazis. That's the first thing. Then, in light of the airplane example, I'm switching over to that one now. I do want to bring your mind to a point, and I'll come back to it at the end as well. We do not want a crash landing. We want a controlled landing. Now, I'm going to upset some people here because there are lots of experienced people in this industry. There are lots of people that I'm not even going to say think they know what they're doing, but that have opinions that will say, throw all your manpower at it, target the end date, whether it's realistic or not. I want all the materials. I want everybody. I want to swarm it, push everybody on top of each other. Just put it in. We'll figure it out later. It is a historical fact that you will finish later than if you do it in a controlled way, in a flow, intelligently, with a plan, with controlled behavior. If you just start throwing manpower and materials at things, it's like you're putting out fires with $100 bills. You will not maintain your fee on that project, and you will not finish on time as much as you could have if you held a controlled flow. If you put two people in competition with each other, like let's say you take a superintendent that's like all materials, all people, everything right now, target that fall send day. We're just going to go push contractors on top of each other, install it, forget about the quality process, go, 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 go. I want 5 new people here. They will finish after me because what I will do is I will say, here's our plan to the finish. Here are the people who are assigned to do that. Do it in a flow, clean, steady, safe, 100%. Do not push contractors on top of each other. Inspect the quality as you go. We don't have time to do this twice. We only have time to do this once. Let's go. I will finish sooner than that superintendent that just starts throwing everything at it and just screaming down to the ground in a crash landing because he knows the plane down too fast. I will hold the yoke on the plane with the team, hold it steady, and it's going to be a steep dive, but I'm not going to like freak out like I'm going to overshoot the runway and then just dive down and crash into the earth. Even if I overshoot the runway, what's better? What's better, to safely land the plane by overshooting the runway a little bit or to crash land the darn thing and get somebody hurt? This is pretty common sense to me, but it's not industry common sense. So that's why I'm jamming out. So I kind of like this because I'm a little bit of a disruptor with this and I'm probably going to anger a couple of people. I think that's okay. I think to build a brand, you've got to do that. But that is a historical fact. That is a historical fact that you will crash land that project if you start freaking out. So let's go over some concepts. All right. First thing, when you are coming into a situation or when you're on a project that's either going into a controlled landing or you're recovering the project midway through, immediately you revisit that org chart. You immediately revisit the org chart and find out who is doing what. And those roles have to tie to a geographical area. Whether you set up the project by scopes or by area or whatever in the beginning, it doesn't matter now. It has to be by geography. You have to conquer geographic area. You have to capture geographic area. You have to maintain conquered territory. It's all about areas. It's all about geography. It no longer is about scopes. Scopes will not win the day. So you have to make sure that your roles are tied to areas. And that org chart is the first thing. Who is the most responsible person to recover the exterior? Who's the most responsible person to recover the roof, the stairway? Who's the most responsible person to go floor by floor? Who's the most responsible person to go do these critical bathrooms in this corn shell? You really have to make sure that your org chart is set up nicely, perfectly to accomplish what you need to do by area as your first order of business. Second thing, stabilize absolutely everything. If there are any systems that are not stabilized, stabilize them. Huddle systems, to-do lists. Where is your hot item list? How are you going to track roadblocks? Where is your punch list kept? What are you doing for safety? What are your rules for that project, for safety, for quality, for cleanliness? Stabilize your standards for absolutely everything and do that immediately. Write it down, make it visual, and communicate it to everyone on site as quickly as you can. Third thing, and you cannot go out of order with this, with at least this one. Some of the other ones you can, but not with this one. You clean and organize everything for 2 days. If you're recovering a project or you're about to do a controlled landing instead of a crash landing, you just spend 2 days cleaning that thing from bottom to top. You sweep every floor. You get rid of all of the trash. You have your dumpsters taken out in a cycle, just every 2 hours, every 4 hours, every day, whatever. You're having the trash removed over and over and over. You make sure to organize piles. You put things where they have to go. You clean up critical areas where you need access to ceilings, where you need access to canopies, where you need access to the exterior, where you need access to the lobby. You clear everything, and if there's inventory that does not belong, you remove it, or if it's an appropriate inventory buffer, you leave it there, but you leave it in the right spot to where it's not in the way. Only what you need. Reduce inventory to the appropriate inventory buffer levels. Now, that has to be the first order of business, and I'm talking perfect, so that at day 3, you walk out there and it's a new job site, and it's a signal to the workers, there are new rules in town. This is how we're gonna do it. We are bracing ourselves for a stable, controlled, but steadily inclined, a steep incline landing here, and if we're not careful, we're gonna crash land this thing. The other thing is, switch to zero tolerance for safety. If you have a different system for safety, that may be more loving, more lenient, that's not working 100% of the time, it's out the window. Now you're back. You need to immediately enter zero tolerance. If somebody's not towing the line, they are removed. They can come back next day for orientation. It is zero tolerance. Everything needs to be perfect. We are no longer babysitting. We no longer have time to babysit people. They will be perfect with the orientation, or they go to a safe place and they come back through orientation. That is one of the biggest steps because you cannot go into this landing with people being unsafe. You need everybody to buckle their seatbelt and put their trays in the upright position ready for that landing. Same thing, glasses on, PPE, pre-task plans, hot work permits, fall protection, everything 100%. We're not tolerating this anymore. If you've tolerated it before, you can't do that in a controlled landing or in a recovery. The other thing is you have to, as one of your first orders of business, even before all of the steps that I just mentioned, get your scheduler, your superintendent, even if you have to lock them away in the room while everybody else is cleaning the site, there has to be a plan to finish in your CPM schedule that will get you to the finish line 100% with all sequences. I'm talking stairs, I'm talking lobbies, I'm talking IDF rooms, I'm talking about commissioning, I'm talking about all final inspections, I'm talking about building flush, I'm talking about coping, I'm talking comeback areas, I'm talking perimeter rooms. I mean everything. If it has to be done, it has to be on that schedule. It has to be realistic. And if it doesn't fit within the end date that you propose, you look at it again, see if you can optimize it, see if you can speed things up with additional crews, see if you can strategize. But if you can't, do not fake it. Do not go put something fake in there and tell people that you're going to finish by the end date and you can't. Whatever it really is, let it be that. That is your path. Start driving in a flow. You will go faster than if you think that you're going to go faster and trick the data. You're not going to trick the data. So some people are like, well, Jason, you're talking about finishing late versus finishing on time. No, 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 guys. That's not what I'm talking about, guys and gals. I'm talking about if I'm the one that's saying you're going to overshoot the runway a little bit and you're like 5, 10, 15 days past the substantial completion date in a flow with an accurate plan, and you say, let's go ahead and keep the substantial completion date, let's hit that and do everything we can to hit that date. I'm telling you, it's not between I'm saying go a little bit longer and you're saying finish on time. I'm saying that I'm saying go a little bit longer and you're saying go way longer. Because if you start pushing people on top of each other, headed towards an unrealistic milestone, you're going to take longer than me because you are not in a flow. Flow is king. You cannot ever beat that system. It is a historical fact. You will not finish any sooner than me if you get out of a flow. I need you to understand that. I need you to hear me on that. Okay. So you have to have one plan. The P6 has to match the TAC plan, has to match the short interval, has to match any milestones. Everything has to be the same. All contractors, even if you have to send out a $0 change order or something to get that into their work orders or get that into their contracts. Once you have a plan to finish, you will know the critical sequences and be able to make assignments back to the org chart that I was talking about by geographical area. You have to establish geographical control. So I'm going to tell you what not to do and then what to do. If you start to hear yourself say, all right, superintendent number one, you do all MEP. I want you on door frames. I want this and that. Hey, PE, I want you just on procurement the next couple of days. You're already on the wrong track. You should be like, hey, superintendent one, PE one, you are in charge of the lobby and the west end of this building. I want all office and field items. You guys own this area. I want it done by this certain date per this schedule. Let's go. Superintendent 2, PE2, you're in charge of the roof and the top 2 floors of the exterior. Let's go. You have to go finish this. I want all office and field items taken care of. Now, you can go do scopes if you think you want to, but I promise you it won't be as good as geographical control because you have to conquer areas. This is a war, and you conquer by area, by geography. You don't conquer, in a war, person by person all the way to the end zone. You have a front line, you have a conquered territory, everything's by geography. You need to do that, not by scope, but by geography. The other thing is everything has to have clear ownership without duplicate assignments. Every time I come to one of these situations, there's a to-do list or a roadblock list or punch list items or something, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 people assigned to that task. So nobody's assigned. If there's more than one person, then nobody's assigned to it because everybody thinks somebody else is doing it. First thing, all lists, all hide items, all assignments, everything, one person. That is the single point of contact. Now you're going to have the PM or the director or the executive or the senior superintendent holding people accountable as a redundant system of checks, but that one person is responsible for that 100%. And that's exactly how it has to be. And that's why I dislike the RACI or the RASCI charts where it's like who's responsible, who's next up, all these different layers of complexity in a matrix. I hate those things. They never work. And I hate seeing them. One person in charge, let's get this finished. It's on you. I will check you as your accountability partner. Let's go. The other thing is, once you have clear ownership without duplicate assignments, you can engage team daily huddles where you cover roadblocks, talk about what you're doing, what you need, and go around the room and discuss things that are pertinent to that team so that they can finish. Some people would say, Jason, we don't have time to do a 15-minute or a 30-minute huddle every day when we're in a controlled landing or in a crash landing. And I'm like, you don't have time to not to. I've been in these situations Not personally. I've actually never had a job crash land, but I've consulted, visited, helped, and recovered projects. And in every one of those situations, I can tell you the huddles make a big difference. If not, everyone will be out hopelessly just doing what they think is best without the alignment of the team. You have to have everybody heading in the same direction every day, and that's the leader's responsibility. Start your 15-minute, 30-minute team huddles every day so that you can fanatically track roadblocks. That's the other item. Fanatically track roadblocks at nauseum every day and hold people accountable. Now, this is where your DAH comes in. Your designated, you know what? That person has to every day be like, okay, why didn't we get it done? I need it done. What do you need? Let's go. There can't be any of this. Well, I tried. And then we go into the next person. Well, I tried this. I'll try better tomorrow. Go to the next person. There's none of that. It's, well, hold on, guys. Let's stop there. We're not going to finish if we keep doing this. What do you need to make this go? What do you need to make this successful? The DAH has to get that done. Okay. Has to be there, focused, holding people accountable. It's better that the whole team does it, but if you don't have that high performing team where everybody holds each other accountable, you have to have the DAH. You have to have that one person that's going to step up and be the general Patton. Hold your daily huddles and track roadblocks daily fanatically. Here's how the huddle would go if it was me. All right, today, this is what I'm working on. I accomplished this, and this yesterday, exactly what I wanted to accomplish. I have no outstanding things from yesterday. My major roadblocks are these two things. One of them I'm taking care of in a task force. The other one, I'm getting the entire crew up there at 8:30 this morning and we're going to jam out. I have no additional concerns. I need two more laborers at 10 a.m. and that's my report for this morning. That's what it would sound like, and go from person to person to person and make sure that we're headed in the right direction. Okay, the other thing is whoever's in charge of MEP and commissioning, map that out in a precedence diagram or in a schedule. I wouldn't recommend it in a Gantt chart, in a bar chart. I would recommend it in a precedence diagram and a sequence map that shows how you're going to get all of your systems, your chilled water systems, your heating hot water systems, your duct, your exhaust, everything into a flow to where then you can go into balancing, you can go into functional performance testing, then you can go into your balancing report. Everything will finish. Your life safety will finish, your fire sprinklers, all of your critical walks, your ADA lists, your AHJ authority having jurisdiction requirements. All of those things will tie in to this one big enhanced commissioning network that will finish your startup, your inspections, your life safety, your commissioning. You have to have that sequence. Now, here's the trick. When you get done with that, go detail it out some more. You don't know enough about that system. When are you going to do point to point? What panels do you need up? Do you have everything that you need? How long will the balancing report take? Have you talked to everybody? Have you had that sequence reviewed? You have not done it enough. Once you're done, go in and detail it again because you have to know that. So, anybody in charge of MEP and commissioning, let's go map that out, even if you have to go into a room for a day or two and figure that out. The next thing is you have to target your hot zones, your high risk areas. If you go to a building, you'll already know the 3 or 4 or 5 critical areas that have to be done. You'll say, oh my gosh, this lobby has to be done. The stairwells, the elevators are key right now. This end of the building that isn't closed up, that has to be 100% done. Those are our 4 areas. So you're going to pick your 4 top people that geographically control those areas anyway. And you say, you're in charge of that hot zone. You're on that hot zone. You're on that hot zone. You're on that hot zone. Well, I want reports every day. It is you. You go get that area. And I remember in the movie Patton, he says, I want you to conquer that beachhead in 4 hours. And if you don't do it, I'll fire you. And that's the attitude. Now we're not going to fire people. I'm just kind of getting passionate here, but like it has to be, I want that beachhead conquered in 4 hours. Let's go. And if you ever watched the movie Patton, you'll remember the scene that I'm talking about. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, let's keep going here. Identify winning daily. So when you go through these huddles and you talk about roadblocks and you talk about your hot zones and report them, you have to know what winning will look like for that day or the next day. And you have to be able to report on that so that the senior leaders can know, oh, you didn't win. That means that we're not on target for our original schedule. I need to dive in and help you with that situation, with that area. Identify winning daily. Once you have won, you need to maintain conquered territory. This is a principle from the 33 Strategies of War and from The Art of War by Sun Tzu. You cannot let the enemy retake conquered territory. It's much easier to continue advancing and keep your conquered territory than it is to keep reconquering it over and over and over. I'm not saying defend it. I'm saying you continue advancing and you keep everybody focused in a forward direction and you maintain your conquered territory. I do that by keeping the areas clean, keeping people headed in a flow, making sure that they're finished, and identifying with the crews where they should not go back, where they cannot access, where they cannot store materials. And I will start shutting and trying to lock doors. Everyone in our industry says, lock doors, I'm locking the doors, and it hardly ever works. But we have to try it. We have to try to lock doors and say, no, we're done. We're done in here and we're out. It makes it difficult when we have balancing folks getting back into the rooms and people having to go back. So sometimes locking doors isn't always feasible, but that's kind of the concept. Maintain your conquered territory and keep pushing people through the building so that they're not working in all areas at one time. Once you finish in an area, reduce the active area, reduce the areas that you're working in so that you can focus and there's no chaos and you don't get a sense of learned hopelessness. The other critical thing, in addition to maintaining conquered territory, conquered areas, you have to set certain things in a flow. Now, this is going to sound unlean, and I would typically advocate a lean system, but this is kind of unlean, but it's just the nature of the beast. If you have a final cleaning crew of 5 to 7 people, and they can do 7 rooms a day, and you divide the number of remaining rooms by 7, and you track that back from your end date, and you're like, oh, I have to start on October 1st. Oh, but this area won't be 100% complete until October 14th. I'm telling you, you need to start them, even if it's 2 weeks earlier. You need to get them through and clean that and see what you need to see and start them on a flow. Level 5, level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1. And if you dirty up in a room up top and you have to go back to it, final cleaning and touch-up paint and touch-up drywall are probably the scopes that I would say we're probably not going to be able to reduce comeback work for them. We will have them in a flow, but we won't be able to reduce comeback work for them because if we don't start them on time, we won't finish on time. We have to start driving people through the building, and Final Clean is the only contractor that I would push on other contractors because it doesn't create out of sequence work. It doesn't cause a problem. It starts to get people's minds triggered to the fact that the building's finished. And if you don't start them early enough, they won't finish early enough. So sometimes you're going to spend, another 20% or 50% or even double what the final cleaning contract was. But if you're in trouble, you need to get them started. You need to be doing drywall touch up, final paint, and the paint touch up, and you need to be doing the final cleaning and punching in a flow, working back from your end date, or else you will never recover from that. Okay, so I need you to hear me on that one. Please, please take that seriously. All right, let's keep going here. Following off of that concept of having these scopes that are in a flow and they have to start on time, everything has to have an end date. Procurement, end date, procurement log, everything has to have an end date. Areas, everything has to have an end date. Your visual maps, every area has to have an end date. You can't come up to somebody and ask them, when is that door frame coming here? Or when does that hardware come here? Or when does this happen? And then have them say, I don't know. It needs to be, that's December 5th. I've got 2 weeks to install it once it gets here. Everything. I'm going to click, do my fingers here. It has to just be like clockwork. This is the answer. This is when. You have to know the end date for absolutely everything. The other thing is put troublesome trades and procurement into task force. So if you can't get the end dates, if you can't get commitments on manpower or materials, you need to put those trades into task force. And so this looks like a couple of different things. If you're doing overhead ceiling inspections, I want all the PMs, I want all the superintendents, everybody. You're here on site, you're doing this walk with me. You're not going to pin this on me. That's task force. I want you, trade partner, in a meeting with me at 6 o'clock a.m. to run your crews because they're not doing it themselves or to discuss manpower. Well, I don't want to do it. Well, I don't care. We're in a situation where contractually you owe me this. You are in task force. That's what that looks like. If you have troublesome trades where they won't get you dates or commitments, put them into task force and make them be accountable for it. And I promise you, The PMs will get so tired of leaving their comfy offices, they'll point to the foreman and they'll say, "You need to take care of this contractor. I don't want to come out here again, or you're fired." Like, they will start to actually hold their people accountable, and that's what you need. The other thing, widen your circle for help. Nobody gets credit for finishing a job by themselves. It's a team effort. Would you rather not finish a job on time because you didn't bring something up and then you failed at it and now it's your fault, when there's even just a slight chance that that could happen? Maybe you bring the project in by yourself on time and you get all this credit, but I don't really think that's how it works. If you bear the burden of these things alone, especially in a recovery or a controlled landing, you are going to be in trouble. If you have something you're worried about, if you have an inspection, or if you have some checklist from the AHJ that you have to conquer, or if you have a procurement item that you're super worried about, or if you have an unresponsive trade partner, widen your circle. You tell the other people on your team, you tell your project director, you tell your general superintendent, you tell the owner of your company, you tell everybody. You don't belong shouldering the burden of that alone. So widen your circle. The other thing is, if you do have an unresponsive trade partner, you cannot be shy about issuing a cure notice, that they must respond in a manner to cure the situation that they have on site to which they have been unresponsive to that point. You need to put them on notice contractually as soon as it warrants. But if they are responsive, if they are working with you, then that is not the appropriate step yet. But if they are not responsive, do not be shy to do that. Here are some individual techniques I would really recommend to you. One of them, and this is my favorite, is the stop and call. There was a superintendent that was fantastic at finishing buildings early on in my career, and I watched him. And he would come to an area that wasn't finished. He'd pop out his phone and he'd say, "Hey, trade partner X, I'd like you to meet me up here on level 3. Well, I'm busy. No, I need you to meet me up here right now. And he would stay there and wait until he got that contractor and those workers to see his vision, and he would say, "I want this, this, and this completed by tomorrow morning. Can you do it?" Yes. Okay. Now, just to be clear, you're going to have this and you're going to get people on it right now. Yes. Now, he would do that from area to area to area. And then again, because of accountability, because trades don't want to be pulled all over the place, they start responding and they're like, "I got it. I got it. I got it." The stop and call. It's absolutely fantastic. I recommend you use it. There's another one that I call make them come to you. One of the best superintendents I've ever worked with had a desk out in the field. And I do have to just mention this, that a field office with internet and a desk that's, a nice, cool area where you can be on point at location is absolutely just over the top good. Yeah, I would recommend it in all situations when you're in a situation like this. So you can go control things geographically, and trade partners and foremen can come get answers to things very quickly. He would call a trade partner or somebody or a craft person and say, "Come, I want you to come visit with me." And they would come to the desk and he would say, "All right, here's the drawing. This is when I need this done by." And he would explain the task at hand and say, "I want this, 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 and this." And then they would say, "Okay, got it." Try and leave. He'd be like, "No, no, hold on. Please repeat that back to me." "Well, you said do this, 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 and this." And he's like, "No, no, no, no. Let me explain it again. I want you to do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G." "All right, all right." And they're like, "Okay, I got it. I'm leaving." He's like, "No, no, no, no. Please repeat that back to me." "All right, you want A, B, C. Okay, you got it. Now, when you're done, I would like you to come back and tell me or call me and let me know that it's done." And he would hold them accountable 100% of the time. Now, this is the most important time to do this. If your mind is all over the place and you're having a hard time keeping track of everything and you don't feel effective and you're getting that panic feeling, that's when it's time to sit down, make a list, look at the plans, go one by one through what needs to be done, and call these trades one by one. And you need to slow down a little bit because you're the thinker. You're the one that's going to get everything done. You're the one that's going to get A, B, C, D, E, and F done. You're the one that has to steer this ship. If you're freaking out and running all over the place and forgetting stuff, you're not doing anybody any favors. You might have to sit down. You might have to sit down in that field desk. You might have to call people and go through your list, simplify things, quiet your mind, and just methodically go through things. When we're in turbulence, planes slow down. When you hit speed bumps, cars slow down. When you hit turbulence, they don't speed up when you're in the air. And when you hit problems on the road, cars don't speed up. And when you hit problems in your mind or on the job site, you slow down, you sit down, and you call people to you. It's a wonderful technique. So the other one is work in small packed crews. I have been on so many jobs consulting, they weren't mine. I just want to be clear about this, where I would show up and 50% of the workforce is on their phone, on Facebook, or doing something, or listening to music, or farting around off in a closed room somewhere, or off in a dark corridor. That is not the way to do this. You work in small, packed crews, obviously 6 feet apart if you're in COVID-19, but you move that crew that's accountable, that feeds off of each other's energy. You move them through that building in a small, packed crew and make them finish as they go. And you will have the energy you need, the accountability. They won't be off by themselves. They will be safe. There will be a buddy system, and you can supervise their work and move methodically through those geographical areas. It's absolutely fantastic. One thing you cannot have are random people on your project draining the energy of your people. If you have low energy, slow people, if you have other like TI contractors or separate contractors, you have to differentiate and delineate the energy. You have to make it clear on this project, we're high energy, we're going forward, we're safe, but we are engaged and we are driving forward. We are not on our phones. We are not on Facebook. We are not listening to music. We are jamming. We are here to do a good job and we're going to finish this project. You have to keep that workforce, the energy of the team, the energy of the workforce flowing forward. Even Sun Tzu, way back in the day, centuries ago, knew about the energy of his army and of any army. You have to keep their energy high. You have to keep them in groups. You have to be moving them forward. Couple more. Actually, these are the closing concepts that I want to finish with. Do not push crews on top of each other. Do not do out of sequence work that will create rework. Do not do things unsafely. Do not stop your quality process. Do not stop getting deliveries on time. Do not stop your organization. Do not stop these things that are critical for people to be healthy and happy. Do not work people 17, 18 hours a day. It's absolutely ridiculous, and you're going to get somebody hurt. If you start to do that, that is the same thing as if you're in that airplane, you angle that yoke as fast as you can down to the ground, and you will crash land that damn thing into the ground, and you will not be as well off as you could have if you just held a steady flow. And here's the problem, and I've been in this situation before. People will come to your project and they'll say, you're not going to finish. I see that you have a problem. I don't believe it. And then the owner will try and tell you to start, do this radical pushing. Your corporate will start saying, do this radical pushing. Everyone will. And I've just had to say, hey, everybody, I've got this under control. Like, I have this under control. You need to calm down. We will not build this project unsafely. We will not do it without quality. We will not do it outside of a flow. We are headed in a direction. You will not cause panic. You will not get everybody running around like they're like chickens with their heads cut off. You will not. You will hold the line. You will make sure we are steady. You will keep it safe. It will be clean. We are doing this. Owner, I will not panic. Corporate, I will not panic. Anybody visiting my job, I'm sorry, but I will not panic. We can talk about any kind of planning or strategies you want. We can go back and add manpower however you want. You can increase the crew sizes wherever you want, but we will not start doing out of sequence work and unsafe things. And you have to be strong about this. And I've had to do that in the past. And guess what? I've always finished. I've always finished on time doing that. And we finished earlier than we would have had we started running around like we're lit on fire. So do not artificially create a crash landing when you can have a controlled landing. Remember, it's not Jason saying finish later versus finish on time. It's Jason saying finish in a flow is the earliest you can finish it. If you start freaking out, you're going to take longer than I would. I need you to remember that. I need you to hear me on this. So when you're finishing a project, just to recap some of the highlights, you have to have a designated leader. You have to have the team in their right roles by geographical area. You have to start meeting. You have to get really, really strict with your standards, and you have to have a really controlled landing so that you don't falsely crash land it. And I do want to say one more time, you will have a net fee loss on like an $80 million project representatively, meaning a representative project of $100 million or $80 million. If you start crash landing that thing, you can have a 1 to 3 to even 4 million net fee loss if you start crash landing that thing. Do not do it. Do not be stupid about it. Angle that plane down, and it's better to land that plane safely a little bit past the runway than to nose that thing down and crash it into the ground. And that's what people in this industry do. They burn out their people. They do things unsafely. They put in, lack of quality work, and it is a disaster. And I just can't talk about this enough. So these are some techniques that are effective. If you need advice on any others, if you have a project that you're going to recover that's crash landing, I reach out. I'll help. Reach out to me on LinkedIn if you need anything, because in this industry, my main focus is we can't go kill somebody just because we want to finish on time. We can finish on time or finish earlier than if you went and did it unsafely. So let's go make a plan. Let's do this smart. Let's do what's right for the owner. Let's take care of our people. We can do this. We can recover. We can finish. We have to be focused on seeing problems sooner in order for this to work. So that's where we should keep our focus. If you're a company, try to find problems sooner so that you can start angling that plane down to the runway sooner. You will have a better time. You will have a better chance. My vision is that workers are not marginalized, that employees are not marginalized, that people don't have the last 4 months on a project where they're working so much that they're about to get a divorce, where it's not an absolute nightmare, where we don't leave a building with so many quality problems, we might as well not have finished on time anyway. So I hope this helps. And until we meet again, please let me know if you have anything that you need, any advice, and on we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.